was born on Cedarville, 2 streets over, and I've been in Ellis Street almost all my life. Between Nancy's house and my house, I've been here almost 59 years in this house. And right where the pool is was Andrews School. It went from 1st grade to 4th. Then from 4th grade, I went to Wolfsler School, and it went from the 5th till the 7th. Then from there I went down to Arsenal High. That's a middle school now. I went to 7th and 8th there, and after the 8th and 9th I was there, I went to Shenley High School, where I graduated from.
And how did you get to school? Did you walk?
Walked, all of them. Now today, kids that went to Shenley after we graduated, they get a bus, they didn't walk. The kids of today are something else. We walked in winter time, summer, spring.
And did you come home for lunch?
No, we brought a lunch. They had a cafeteria too. You could buy your lunch. And my mother packed the lunch for me, and we ate at the cafeteria. And then I graduated from Shenley. That was 1942. The World War was on. I went to Penn State. I started there. I always said I went through the front door and out the back. I was up there in September till November, and my mother called me up and told me I got to come home. I said, why? She said, I got seasoned greetings from the government. So I come home and I went and took a physical, passed it, and I went into World War II. That's how it happened. I was 3 years, 15 days short of 3 years in World War II. When the war ended, I come home. And I met Evelyn before I went to the service at the bottom of my street. We were on roller skates. She was coming down an adjacent street, and at the bottom of the street we banged into one another. She fell one way, I fell another way. I picked her up and I said, are you hurt? She said, no. And I asked my boyfriend who was with us, who is that girl? He said, she lives next to my aunt, the next street over. So I start loafing the next street over, and I got to know her.
How old were you when you met her?
I'm 3 years older than Evelyn. She was 13, I was 17. Was that 3 or 4? 13, 14, 15. No, she was 14, 15, 16. No, I was 16. And I start loafing on the street below Ella, and I got to seeing her more. First thing you know, when I went to the service, I was there 6 months in the service. I come home on leave and I got engaged. She was 13, 14, 15, 16. I got engaged, then I went overseas for 3 years. The war ended. I came home, and I got married in June of the year The war ended in 45. I got married June 15th, 46. And we raised 3 boys and a daughter. And I have wonderful children. I think so. And they all got married. And they have children of their own now. And they're grown and they're married. I have the score's about 10 grandchildren and 11 great grandchildren. The great are sort of still producing. But other than that, I've had a good life. I took care of my wife till she died. She was 84. And I live by myself. I have good neighbors. Nancy, I can't go wrong. I got nuns on the left of me. Nancy and the next nun, they keep her eye on me. I can't do no wrong.
Plus you have lunch with a nun every week too.
Yeah, she comes down and she checks on me to see that I'm all right. She has lunch with me every Thursday. She didn't come this Thursday. Something must have turned up. But other than that, I had a good house cleaner named Louise, and she developed not an infection. She has to have pulps removed out of her thyroid, and she can't come to clean it anymore. And I'm praying to God that she gets better real quick and real strong and says, I'll be back. She's a good house cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
And my children had a party for me. I celebrated my 90th birthday. And I feel pretty good yet. Can't find no young woman to come in the house and take care of me. Well, it's good to have a companion, I think, when you're old. Someone you can talk to. And keep you company. I think it's good.
Mm-hmm.
That gives you more of an instinct to live, keep living.
Mm-hmm.
Eutimio. It's pronounced Aulotemio. And if you bring it up, it'll tell you when he come over. He come over with another Italian guy when he was about, I don't know if it was 13 or 17. And he met my mother here. She come over from Italy with her parents.
What was her name?
Her name was Esther Zappa, Z-A-P-P-A. But then my dad married her and it was Donatelli.
Mm-hmm. So where did she grow up?
Well, what I know, my grandmother lived on Taylor Street, one street over. And that's where my dad met her. He did construction work. He went down to Texas and worked on I don't know if it was the oil line or what, but when he was down there, they had a ditch cave in He broke his leg down there. But he stayed there and he had to go to the hospital and they put a cast on him. And then he bought a house on Cedarville. That was where I was born. And when I was 6, we moved up from Cedarville into your house. That's the first house, second house he owned. And then I lived here almost between these two houses my whole life.
Mm-hmm. So what were they like, your mother and father?
They were good to me. He was good to all of his children, yeah. My mother went to school here. She went like till about the 4th, 5th grade, and then she was taken out of school to help her, my grandmother. My dad never went to school. He just could write his name. But he was a foreman for construction. He was good in construction on highways. You know the Lincoln Highway? He built that. McKnight Road, that was one of his last jobs before he retired. He made that cut coming from way up at East Street, all the way down. He had a blasting license. He used to tie the wires together and dynamite. I used to hate it when it didn't go off and he had to go back in and check the lines. I used to worry. He used to take me with him. And they had big pipes sewer pipes. And he used to make me, I'd get out, I want to see the blast. He used to go, in the pipe, get in it, because rocks go up. And I used to, that's funny, I used to see the explosion thing, and then I'd hear it. Sound travels. But first you see it, it'd blow up. Then they had when they were in close to houses and they'd blast, they'd have a net, thick net that dropped down over the dynamite net. And when they blast, that'd hold a lot of when they were close, like if it was a blast on the street, that'd muff it and hold the stones down. I used to watch them doing it.
So what was your mother like?
She was good. For her going to school, as little education as she had, she was pretty smart, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She used to run the house, pay the bills and that. She was good. I told you about her when I did things wrong. She'd tie me to the pole in the basement. And I used to stand there and I'd laugh and I'd let her wrap my arms with rope and tie me. Your dad's gonna holler at you. Before he'd come home, she'd release me. I wasn't really bad, but to her, I was bad. I'll tell you this. She said to me after I got married, she said, I had a son only up to 19 years. After he got married, I didn't have a son no more. She thought Evelyn took me away from her, you know. That's the way she felt. I told her, I'm still here. She said, no, no. I only had a son up to 19 years. That's the way she felt. Yeah. I said, well, you know, the good book says a son gets married, he leaves his mother and dad. And he has a family of his own. You got to understand that. She said, yeah, I know what you mean. 3 sisters, and I had 1 brother and me, 5 of us. Lillian's the oldest, she died. Leona was old, I was 3rd. Then my sister Dolly in Maryland is 4th, and my brother Vince was born. All my mother's children were born out of the home. They were born at home. They had what they called a midwife, and she'd come and deliver. And the best thing about it, when we lived on Cedarville, the midwife lived next door to my mother, and she liked my mother. She delivered up to me on Cedarville. Then Dolly and Vince were born here. Yeah. I'm going to tell you, my dad was a foreman. He knew blueprints, but he couldn't write. And he had so many men under him. He used to put everything in his head. I used to fill his time sheets out. So many hours for each guy. And if a guy left early that day, he knew it. He knew. He'd mark it down a certain way on a paper. And I'd fill his time sheets out. My dad was strict. I'd sneak out and go down and play baseball. I knew when I get home I'm going to get hollered. So instead of coming home early, he used to get up 4 o'clock in the morning. He'd go to bed early. Well, the next night I knew I'm in for it. But I like sports so much that I'm staying out. I'm going to get hollered at when I go. And he hollered at me. Now Evelyn, she'd take a beating off of her dad, she said, before scolding. She said, my dad used to scold us something awful. But I'd rather get scolded than him paddle us. I said, well, I knew I was going to put my hand out. And I was told if I pulled back, you're going to get an extra one. So I just kept it there.
And what?
Got it swatted with a...
With what?
He had a paddle. My dad had a paddle made. Tap him right on the hand. And you didn't run away. You stood there and took it. Even the girls had to do it if they did something wrong. Yeah.
Now, was your mother as strict as your father was?
I used to laugh at my mom. She told me there wasn't a pool here, there was a school there. And I was just in grade school. And Holland Park had the pool. And she said to me, don't you go swimming. Well, a couple of kids from the street below on Evelyn Street, they were older, they were like 17. We were like 14 and 15. We're going to Holland Park, come on, we'll take you. They take me. It's got real cloudy, and I don't want to be in the water when it's lightning. So we got out of the pool, me and another boy. And they said, don't get dressed. Stay out of the pool. Well, we went into the building and put our clothes on. We come out all dressed up. They got so mad. They said, we're not taking you home. You find your own way. Well, we didn't know how to go there. And Allegheny Cemetery has that big front, and I could see it from where the pool was. I said to this kid, "Come on, I know the way home. We'll walk to that building. I know that building's on Pearl Street, and I know my way home from Pearl Street." We did. We get home. My mother's so mad, and I'm laughing. She took me down the cellar, got the clothesline, wrapped it around my arms and tied me to a pole. And I'm laughing all the time while she's doing it. I said, "Mom, you don't have to tie me up." She said, "I'm mad at you." She wrapped the clothesline and she said, "I'm going to tell your father too." Well, before he come home, she come down and loosened me up. Another time I fell in the schoolyard, and she used to get up on the porch, and lean over, and she used to see all these kids go by. She said to these kids, "Where's Anthony? I didn't see him yet." They said, "Oh, don't you know? He fell at lunchtime, and he had a lump come up on his hand." And the teacher went up and got some of the older boys. They took them up West Penn. So when I come home, they had a roll of gauze, my hand, and all wrapped up. You should have seen my mother. And my dad was working away. He was working up at Lancaster, so they didn't come home at nights. They'd come home on weekends. They were building the highway. She said, "Your father's gonna shoot you." I said, "It don't hurt none." I said, "They got it wrapped all up, and that's it. That's that bone. It's out of shape like." But other than that, she told him, I was surprised he wasn't here when I wasn't home, when she was worried about me. That was the difference, I think. But thank God I survived it all. I'm glad to be here yet. Yeah. I didn't think I'd get here and be 90 years old, though. I'm still around, hopefully. Yeah. Jeff. And he was a boarder, and I told you we used to have steps, and there was a back door on a back porch. There was a double porch here. And he used to come in and go up to the room and sleep, come down. I mean, he used to wash down the basement and stationary tub in that. Well, no, there was a sink in that room on this side where the window is. He used to wash in there and that, and shave. And there was a door going from the girls' bedroom in there. I told you what I did one night. My sisters were up there, and there was a door, and we had a hook, like, regular latch. So one night I go up, my sisters are in bed, they're awake, they're talking. I said, "Watch this." I took a run from the other bedrooms, and their bed was long way, this way. I did a somersault, and I hit that door, and that lock flipped open, and I landed on the floor in the middle of the bedroom. He jumped up in bed. I ran back in the girls' room. They were laughing. I went the length of the bed. Not the bed was. I went the crossway, And the way I ended the somersault, I flew off the bed, my feet hit that door, and it sprung open, and I landed on the floor. I jumped up, and he got scared. He was in bed that night. Oh, when I think of some of the things I did. My sisters were laughing. Yeah.
So you slept in the same room as the boarder.
Yeah, I slept with him. My brother wasn't born yet. Well, he was born in this house, but he wasn't born yet. My three sisters had this room. The boarder had that. It was a big double bed, and I slept there too, with him. He didn't mind it
Except,
when I did crazy things. I wasn't sleeping with him then. And that front room, my dad put a petition in that. There was a room, he ran a petition. How many windows were in that one? 2? Well, there used to be 3. And on the 3rd window, he ran right into it and put a door in sideways. He could come in and check on me. Like, he put a petition. He made a little room for me in that big room, and I used to sleep there. He could keep an eye on me. But then, when I got bigger, that's when the boarder left and I had sleeping. Did you see it?
so the boarder left and you had that room with your brother then?
Well, my brother was born then, yeah, and then me and my brother had that room.
And then you said something about sneaking in at night.
Oh, well, there were steps that went up to the double porch, and if I'd go out, and my mother knew I was out, she didn't want my dad to know, I used to sneak up the steps, climb on your roof, and I used to go in this window here. There was no window on it. There was a door on that side where you had the window. That's how the boarder used to come in. And I used to sneak in that window.
What were you doing out at night when you had to sneak in?
My dad used to get up 4:30, 5 o'clock, and he'd go to bed early. And that's when I used to try to go out. My mother would let me out a little bit. But then I'd stay out till 11, and that was late. And I'd come in, sneak in.
But what were you doing when you were out till 11?
Down talking to everyone sitting on those steps. They used to have coleslaws. And you know your window on the side here, it goes in under the porch. We used to get coal, and a junction coal truck used to back up and dump it between the 2 houses. And it was my job. I'd come home from school. I'd have to get a shovel, open that window, and I'd fill it, that little cellar under the porch. The coal used to come up to the window. I'd have to shovel it in when I came home from school, close the window and that. And then we used to have a coal bucket. And I'd have to go down and shovel coal in a bucket and carry it up the steps, and we kept it. We used to have a stove in the dining room. Used to heat in the rooms. and that was it. Now Evelyn and them had one down in the basement kitchen, but they put a hole in the ceiling and they had a register there, and the heat used to go up in the heat in the bedrooms and that. That was pretty good. Then they changed it to a gas stove. It had a power and it'd come on and off. Well, that's the way they did. But then my dad didn't want the coal stove in the dining room. He put the furnace in that house. Then they used to have a street dance on Evelyn Street. And I didn't learn, didn't know how to dance. My boyfriends did. They used to dance. Evelyn used to dance with them. I wouldn't dance on the street. So I watched them how they danced, and that was when they had jitterbug. I had a cousin who was real good jitterbug. I saw how he used to do it, and I saw how my boyfriend danced. I'd go home, and my sister Lillian says, "Come on, I'll teach you." And she used to teach me. Then I learned to dance, but I wouldn't dance on the street. I didn't think it was a good place to dance. It was a dead-end street. But then it was just nice for people around here. But then the outsider guys were coming, and they got a little vulgar. And Evelyn's dad didn't like what he was seeing. So he went to the mayor, and they put a stop to it. We had a guy, it was like a disc jockey. He had a recording, he'd set it up and everything every night. But after her dad said, "I don't want no more dancing," some older guy said, "You can't stop us." He said, "Oh no." So he went down to City County Building to the mayor, and they put a stop to it because a lot of outsiders were coming in from Pearl Street, Edmund, all the way past the church, and he didn't like it. I was playing football down the field, and it wasn't a grass field then, it was just regular dirt with stones over it. No equipment on, sand lot. And I was playing fullback. I had the ball, I went through the line. I got hit, and the way I rolled, this big guy jumped on me, and my shoulders snapped like an electric wrench. I jumped up, grabbed my shoulder. I went to lift my arm up, I couldn't lift it. So I said, "I'm going home, something's the matter." I got in home here. I said to my mother, she said, "What's the matter?" I said, "I think I broke my collarbone." She said, "No, you didn't." I said, she said, "Lift your arm." I said, "I can't." I tried, and my arm wouldn't go up. So my sister Lillian took me up emergency right away. And I know the doctor, his name was Dr. Adams. His hands were gentle. He said, he put me on a piano stool, and today, a broken collarbone, they just put your arm straight up against the cradle. He said to me, he got on the back of me, grabbed my shoulders, put his knee in the middle of my back, and he said, "This is only going to hurt when I pull." And he snapped my shoulder back, and he had a T cross. He put the cross on me, and he started making X's. And I looked like Frankenstein. That's who I looked like. And I had to go to school like that. Oh, I hated that. Oh, I really hated that. I couldn't put a coat on, just droop it over, and it stuck out because that board was on me. And kids all said, "What'd you do, Anthony? What'd you do?" I told them I broke my collarbone. Now when you break it, they look neat. Man, I look like a monster. It was awful.
How old were you?
I was about 17, because I graduated when I was 18 and a half. And I was in 11th grade, I think, when I did that. And it was awful. My dad didn't talk to me. I broke that around November 2nd. And they let me sleep in the girls' room so they can keep an eye on me. And my dad didn't talk to me. And Thanksgiving morning, he come up and told me to come to the table. He didn't talk to me for 3 weeks. Oh, he was furious. He never wanted me to play football. And then when he seen they took that off, he didn't feel as bad. Neither did I. Yeah, then they just wrapped you with with an ace bandage, and that felt good. And never had no trouble with that shoulder. And I told him, if I go back to playing football, to the doctor, could that break? He said, I'm going to tell you something. That break is stronger than your other bones on that blade. He said, it won't break in the same place again. I said, well, that's good to know. That's what he told me. You don't need one. And then that doctor started taking hemorrhoids out on women and men. And who goes to them after all these years? Evelyn tells me, I'm seeing a Dr. Adams. I said, you sure? She said, yeah. She said, he has hands of gold. And I said, I think that's the guy that... So I went with her, and it was him, and I told him, you remember? I said, you had an office right on Center Avenue in Oakland, and you set me on a piano stool and grabbed my shoulders and pulled them back and tied me to... He said, oh yeah, I remember you now. I said, my wife said you had hands of gold, so I wanted to come and see.
Tell me about when you were in the Army. I don't know much about that, where you were, or how old were you when you went in?
Right out of high school, or college. I was 19. I was in all over Europe, clean into Berlin. 6 months maneuver in Louisiana during the winter time. Slept in a pup tent on the ground. 6 months.
That was your training?
Yeah. We were anti-aircraft, shooting at airplanes and that. And I told you I met Evelyn's brother. He was on maneuvers too. He was marching by, and I went out on the road out of a bivouac area, and I said, what outfit's this? They said the 28th Infantry Division. I said, oh, is Reed Starfler in here? They said, yeah. I said, where's he at? He's coming up. So I waited there, and I met him. And I met another guy from Bloomfield. And he's the guy I saw first. I said, hey, is Reed here? He said, yeah, he's behind. He's coming up. This guy was carrying 2 guns, rifles. He passed away just lately. I met him when he had them. He lived near the church, Immaculate Conception. But it was all right in the Army. I made a lot of friends, and I'm glad to be home. I would have never got married if I wanted to come home. Well, I got engaged while I was in the Army. My first furlough home, I got engaged to Evelyn. And I told you, she came all the way up to New York. We were getting ready to go over to, we were on the ship, Queen Mary. And one of my boyfriends got to see his girlfriend Saturday night. I couldn't get past till Sunday night. So Evelyn, my sister Lillian, and Leona came up, two of my sisters. Saturday night, the guys got a pass. They broke it in two divisions, groups. One Saturday, one Sunday. I was Sunday. They went on past Saturday. Sunday it was my turn. No passes. Ship's getting ready to pull out early tomorrow morning. You know, oh God, I don't know how I get hooked like that. Couldn't get it. Here they found out that we were pulling out. I didn't get to see my girlfriend or my sisters. I got hooked. I missed out. Maybe that's why I got back home. Yeah, I was lucky. I told you, God was good to me. I got home and got engaged. No, I was engaged before I went overseas on my first furlough home from the States. But 6 months later, I got married. I got home in December the 19th, right before Christmas.
What year?
1945, because I got married in June 46. And we were married a good while, 64 years. That was good. I told you I was lucky. I went over on the Queen Mary, and there were so many troops on that ship that when you went below deck, our outfit had a trade-off with another outfit every other night. And the other night when we slept, we had to go on what they called the promenade deck. That's an open deck. You could write your name on the outside. It was open. You had to lay down on the floor. And every other night, you had to trade off with one of the outfits down below. I got a cold so bad, I started getting hot. I went to the company doctor. He put me in a sick bay. And they had, the English had sisters, they called them. They were dressed like a sister. And I told them I didn't want to go on sick bay. They said, "You're going." I said, "Why?" He said, "You got a temperature," and they wouldn't tell me if I had pneumonia or what. So I said, "I'll go, but I want back out. I want to go to my outfit when I come out. I don't want to be attached to another outfit." They said, "We'll see that you go to your outfit." So I went on hospital bay, and these nuns used to come every night and give me, they said, "This is good for your cold." it was, the English always had gin. They gave me a glass of gin every night. Oh, boy, it used to warm my whole chest up. It felt good. I was there, took us 5 days to go across the Atlantic. And on the 5th day, they said, you can go back to your outfit. I said, thank you, I'm going back. I got on my outfit. But I'll tell you what, we landed in Scotland, Glasgow, Scotland. And in this area where we were, a bivouac area, but they had tents, big nesting huts like. I had to pull guard, it was my turn. I was just over that cold. I still had rattle in my chest. So I'm pulling guard and I'm walking this fence line. So a lady comes up to me. She started talking to me. She said, boy, you got a bad cold. I said, oh no, I'm getting over it. She said, well, you're coughing. Well, the next night I'm pulling guard. Don't this lady come by? And she said, here, you take this cough medicine. It'll help your cold. I said, gee, that's pretty nice of you to give me this cough medicine. So I said, I don't know how to repay. She said, you don't have to repay me. So the next night she's coming by and I said, well, I'll tell you what. I get a pass every so often out of this outfit here. I'll give you money. You buy 2 tickets to a movie. I'm going to tell you the movie I went to see with her. I said, I want good seats. So I give her money. She comes back the next night and give me. I said, well, when I get a pass, I'll let you know, and we'll go to the movie. And the movie was Cabinet in the Sky with Lena Horne. So when I go to the movie with her, you know where the good seats are in England? In peanut heaven. I said, these aren't good seats. There's the good seats down there. She said, not here in England. And they were smoking. I didn't smoke. I don't think she did either. But she said, this is what we call good seats. I said, okay. But we saw Cabin in the Sky with Lena Horne. It was a good movie. And I enjoyed it. She was a air raid warden. When they had an air raid there, that set the sirens off, and she'd have to make sure she didn't see no lights and that. So I enjoyed the movie with her. That was pretty good. That's the general gave me the pinned the medal on me. This kid, this is when we're on training, and they brought boxing gloves out. And he was a good friend of mine. He was a section chief like I was. So they said, Donatelli, how about you and Hutsko putting the gloves on? I said, oh, I'll do it. But I said, I'm not going to be on no boxing team. So I put the gloves on with him. I threw one punch and I hit him in the nose. He started bleeding. So they said, that's it. I said, I'll stop. That's it. This is where we were in training. My hair started to grow. I had a crew cut. This was in England here. That's a bike. We were in England. We were stationed on an air base, and the chief of sections all got a bike. And they'd call a meeting. We'd have to ride the perimeter strip of the airfield and go to a meeting. That's when they were bombing England. This young kid, he had a French girl friend. We lived in tents like this. 5 men to a tent. This kid met a French girl. She used to come in our tent and sleep, and he used to date her.
Was that your uniform?
That was one of our uniforms, sweaters and that. This was one of our guns. It had 450 caliber machine guns. You sat in this turret, and this gun went around. And this is the other gun. It's a big gun. We had a net camouflage over it. They used to bring the generals to my section all the time. I had a good gun crew, really good. When he'd come, you'd have to run through a gun drill. I'd holler, prepare for action. They'd flip that net as it'd open up, and the gun with the cannon part, they'd get on it, and we'd go through a gun drill for the general. Our captain used to bring all these to my section. That used to gripe me. Yeah, I'm telling you, I had the best section in the outfit. They were really good guys.
Why did you wait 6 months to get married? I thought you'd get married right away.
Oh, I kept telling them I couldn't wait. Her mother was saying, "Oh, you're going to get married soon." I said, "I can't wait. I can't wait." She used to get a kick out of that. She used to throw it up to me. Wow. We had a double wedding. My sister Leona married Evelyn's brother. We had a double wedding. The reception was right on this street. There was a mission right on the corner where that, not the boarded house. There was a mission right there. It's been torn down since that. And we had our reception there. We both got married at St. Joseph's Church. And I had made arrangements to go on a honeymoon up into Canada. And we went to Niagara Falls, but we stayed on the I stayed on the Canadian side. So Evelyn's brother said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Canada." He said, "Did you make arrangements?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Can I come?" I said, "Yeah, you can come." I said, "I'll call up and tell them 2 more. Here we had adjoining rooms. But you could lock the door. Yeah, we stayed on the Canadian side. It was called the General Brock Hotel. As soon as you got across the bridge, it was right there. And next to the hotel was a silverware where they made spoons and kitchen set, like dish. It was all spoons, like the service for 8. My one brother-in-law, he bought service for 8 for Evelyn and I. I didn't know it. He brought it home and gave it to us. I haven't yet in that dining room door. It's pretty nice set. But we had a good time. That was June the 15th. Would you believe I just had soup? It got so cold up there. In June, the soup couldn't keep me warm, and everyone was shivering when we went for a walk, and my sister was shivering. I said, I can't believe it gets this chilly here. But it did. Then it warmed up later on in the week, about when we were coming home. I didn't even have to go see the fall. All I had to do was open my window and I could see the whole fall from the window, which I did.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. But what I should have done was went down below the fall. They had these rain suits you put on. I didn't bother to get down. I didn't have time. I was more interested in a lot of other things. It was a new adventure. I'm not talking no more. My whole marriage, I never stepped out of the line. That's not saying now. I'm older now. I learned to behave after all them years. Used to like to dance, and we used to dance almost every number when we went to a dance. Polkas, smooth, jitterbug. She liked to dance too. Sometimes I'd get out of wind. She'd say, come on, we're gonna dance. I could dance all night with her. We really did like to dance. When I got my first car, Evelyn's uncle took a liking to me, and we were celebrating Boggy's birthday in a basement. He was 5 years old. And Evelyn's uncle come up with a 1949 black Ford, parked it in front of my house. And he said, I bought you a car. I said, I don't want a car. I can't afford it. He said to me, I got a bank book here. I put $10 in it. When you get it up to 450, you give me back the book. I said, well, under those conditions, I'll take it. So that's how I got my first car. I'm sitting down on a chair, and Evelyn's across from me, and I'm shooting orange peel. She said, cut it out, Anthony. And on the table, this bag is sitting there. And right behind me, on the back house, is a window. She's over there, and I'm going like that. She said, I told you, cut it out. I kept shooting them at her. She grabs that bag, wells it at me, boom, right through the window. I said, that's it. I'm quitting horsing around with you. I said, every time we horse around, something happens. They all went to St. Joseph School. And Dave and Tom were in class, and Evelyn brought, and Bobby was at school. And Evelyn brought Barbara to St. Joseph. She went up to school with Evelyn good, but when she got in school, she started screaming, and David said, "Boy, I'll bet you that's my sister." And the nun told Evelyn, "Go, we'll take care of her." She was screaming and stamping her feet. Evelyn hated to leave her, but she left her. So when the boys come home, the first thing they said to Evelyn, "That was Barbara, wasn't it?" She said, "Yeah, the nun chased me out of the room." And she said, "We'll take care of her." They got her quieted down. And of all of them, Tommy had the hardest way of learning. He couldn't grasp things. And I remember I used to stay up at nights and help him. And I'd go to, I guess, to fix my hair, and he'd juke. He thought I was going to tap him on the back of the head because he couldn't get it. But he really, what made him learn is when he went to the seminary and they taught him how to study. And he went in the 8th grade to the seminary, and they really, even today, David's a mechanical and civil engineer. Tommy's just a civil engineer. And I can see Tommy knows his math, I think, better than Dave, because he was teaching his daughter algebra, and Dave asked him and said, "You remember that algebra?" Tom said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't remember none of it." And they both had good jobs. But, and Barbara, she did good in school. They all did good in school. But Bobby said, "I didn't go to bat for him like I did for David." I told you David didn't get, they wouldn't let Dave go to Central. And I went up to the pastor, and St. Joseph was a German church. And I said, "Ain't he making it because he's an Italian?" And the priest said, "Oh, no." I said, "Well, I know kids that are in his class that are at Central that had D on their reports. David never had a D. Why ain't he going to Central?" I said, I asked the Mother Superior what, she said his IQ wasn't enough. I said, "Well, what was his IQ?" She wouldn't tell me. I said, "I don't think that's right. Why won't she tell me?" And the priest said, "I'll look into it." I said, "I think it's because he's got Italian descent. All these German kids made it to Central and he didn't." He said, "I'll look into it." I said, "Well, that's what I'm thinking." I said, and during the summer vacation in August, I went to communion, and he was giving communion out, and he said to me, "David's going to Central." I said, "Oh, good." And he did. He got into Central. And that's what Bob said. "You didn't go to fight for me." I said, "Well, you was interested in sports, and you decided to go to a trade school, Washington, down on 40th Street. I said, "I didn't think you really wanted to go to Central." I said, "If I thought you wanted to go bad enough, I would have went to bat for you." I said, "Well, you did good. You're inspector on the new stadium, on the football field." I said, you showed me the brick with your name on it on the walkway at the stadium." He said, "Yeah, I know." But they all did good, thank God. Yeah. Even Barbara, even though she cried in school, she turned out pretty good too. She went to Ursuline Academy. That was nuns that taught them up there. She graduated from up at Ursuline. Do you know where it was? You know.
Mm-hmm.
It's up past Friendship Avenue on Winebittle. They hold weddings there mostly now at the school. It was a private school. It was nice. She graduated from there. Yeah. I love my children, and they know it too. Yeah, they're all good, thank God. Used to go to church different times. We couldn't go together. I'd go to one mass and she'd go to a later mass. I'd watch the kids while she went. So this one day I had an electric clipper, and David was about a year old, not even a year old, and her brother March said, "Let's give Davy a haircut." I went to give him a haircut. I had nicks everywhere. And whenever I come home from church, she said, "Don't you ever cut his hair again." We were laughing, but she got mad. Well, my one son, Tommy, from the 8th grade, wanted to become a priest, and he went to Hollidaysburg up at Altoona. He stayed up there for 3 years, but I told him when he went, I said, "Anytime you feel you want to come back, you call me and I'll come up and get you." And Evelyn and I and the rest of the children used to go up the first Sunday of the month. And Evelyn was a good pie baker. She used to make a cheese pie. I'd pull into the driveway of the school and all the seminarians used to run to my car. Evelyn would open the trunk and cut the pie up, and they'd all take a piece. She used to make a graham cracker crust with the cheese. I think it was Rigot cheese. And the priest there always used to say, "How come you don't make us one?" She said, "No, the seminarians, she had it all sliced. They used to all take a piece, eat it. Then I'd take the rest of the kids to lunch. There was a little restaurant on a corner. It was called Dave's Dream. We'd have lunch, then we'd go back to the seminary and spend the rest of the day with Tom. And then when we had to leave, he took it pretty good. He wouldn't fill up with any tears. He was there till his last year of high school. And he called me and he said, "Dad, I'm ready to come home." I said, "I'll be up there and pick you up." And he finished at Central High where David finished. I worked at 2 places in my lifetime. The first job I had was at J.D. Dixon Company. It was a sheet metal shop, and I learned to weld there. And I worked 16 years there. It was one of the best companies I worked for. They gave us a bonus at Christmas time. It was like 3% of your yearly earnings. Every year I worked there. I never went in another company that did that. Another company bought us out, and they kept their own employers. we had to go on. I was 39 years old when I left J.G. Dixon Company. It broke my heart. It felt like the bottom fell out of the world. I didn't know what I was gonna do. But I left there on a Friday, and a guy was in the office. I was in the office that morning, and he said to me, "You want to come down to my shop, take a welding test?" I said, "When?" He said, "Tomorrow morning." That's Saturday. That was Friday. We closed. I went there Saturday, took the test. He said, "Come to work Monday." I didn't lose no time. Left there on a Friday, took a test on Saturday, and went to work on Monday. And I was wondering how I was going to do it. But I was shocked when he said, "Come to work Monday." I said, "Okay." And I worked till I was 65 at trying. God was pretty good to me. Then I worked 25 years, little over 25 years, at Triangle Welding Company. And I worked my way up there. And that's where I retired from, Triangle Welding. That was 41 years. I was 65 and I left. That was enough for me. I was a welder and a burner. I used to run a radiograph machine that cuts steel. I could cut up to 4-inch plate, cut right through it. I ran a radiograph machine. It ran on tracks, and it could cut circles. I used to cut so many jobs, circles, and I'd go back and help the welders, and I used to help fitting and that.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. Evelyn and I, that St. Joseph had a Halloween party. She said, "Anthony, I'll get up dressed with a real short skirt. I'll get a dress and I'll get some fake hair. I'll be a hippie." I told her, "Okay, you be a hippie. I'll be a geisha girl." So I shaved all the hair off my stomach. And I put a ruby in my belly button. And she had these kitchen curtains that were, what do you call that, sheer stuff in the dining room. She had kitchen curtains that were old, and she made me baggy pants. I went and got one rubber ball, and I cut it in half. And Evelyn's brother was good with wiring electric, and I put 2 batteries in them, and I put 2 little light bulbs in the center of the ball. And every time I touched my fingers like this, the lights would light up. So they had a bra on me, and Tom's barber was here. She said, "You had to wear a mask." So we bought these skin masks. But at a certain time we had to take our masks off. And that's when they had a dance like for Halloween, St. Patty's Day, and then Valentine's Day. And people knew what table you usually sat on. But the night we were dressed, we all said, "Let's sit at different tables till we pull a mask off." So they had these masks that fit your face, but then underneath, Tom's barber says, "Come here, Dad." She said, "I'll make you up with lipstick and that." And I had like a Hollywood night girl with one of them long things and a cigarette on it, and I didn't smoke, but I just pulled it, blew it out right away. When we go up to church, we go into church, and who's coming down the steps but Father John? And Father John came here a lot to eat. He liked Evelyn's cooking. He wanted Evelyn to go up to the convent and cook for them, and I told him, no way. I said, she's raising a family, she's staying home here with me. He said, well, just weekends. I said, no, it'll start out with weekends, then you'll want her weekdays. And I said, that's out. He's coming down the steps and he said, get a load of this guy. And I'm lighting. He's laughing. He didn't know who we were till we unmasked, because we were sitting at different tables. And a lot of them got surprised. But and the dance was over 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, when I come out, it was chilly like it is now. And we ended up in Dell's Bar. We all wanted a sandwich or something. Boy, I was shivered. I said, come on, we only live down the street. Let's go down the house and finish your sandwich. He said, I'm getting cold.
Did you and Evelyn have a special song that was like for your wedding, or, you know, like your special song?
Yeah, I'll tell you what song I liked to dance with. It was really a good song. Spanish Eyes. Boy, that's a slow, smooth song. I used to love to dance that.
Who sang it?
I don't know if I heard it sung. Oh, we had, in our era, we had good bands. Glenn Miller, Harry James, Tommy Dorsey, and there were a lot of big bands. My boyfriend used to like Tommy Dorsey. And I used to like Harry James. He played the trumpet. And we used to argue who was a better arrangement.
Which friend was that? Which boyfriend was that?
The one I told you, he died young. He died when he was 42. He had a heart attack. And he got to the hospital. And I waited about a week. I went up to see him on a Saturday. Sunday morning he died. They said he had blown a hole in his heart. It was too big to try to save him. He was 42. I was a year older. His one, I have a sign in my room. We used to exchange gifts, like if I gave him a necktie. His dad was a carpenter and had a building right up on Liberty Avenue. And he gave me a frame. I have it in my bedroom now. I could show you his name on the back of that frame in 1948.
What was his name?
Eugene DeSabata. You know where they're fixing that house? He lived there. That's his son. His name's Eugene. That bought that now. It's fixing it. And on this sign it says, I know it by heart. 1,000,000 years will pass too soon on the road of life with friends like you. That's what's written on that sign. I could take you up and let you read it. You'll see that's the exact words. Yeah. And
Sounds like he was a real good friend.
we were really good friends, yeah.
So do you have anything else to say about those songs and dancing?
No. I don't think I could dip as good as I used to when I was young. I might dip and hit the floor. I'd like them to go to church And like I told my kids, the main thing in life is your family. Don't argue among yourselves. It ain't good. Even if your brother tells you to go to hell, you shouldn't let it hold a grudge. That's not good at all. You should be able to come right back and talk to him. Yeah. And I tell them the main thing in life is your family. Outside of that, the outside world is rough. Yeah. You can have friends, but your friends aren't like your family. Yeah. I tell them, try to get along with one another. Don't let someone's, your brother or sister say something that you thought was mean. Don't hold a grudge. You can come right back and talk. Yeah. I'll give you an example. My brother talks mean to me. He's younger than me. Sometimes he'll talk real mean. And his wife will say, that's your brother. Why are you talking to him like that? And he won't answer her. I've seen him already not swearing, just his voice changes, you know. But it don't bother me. It don't. I can come back and talk to him. It don't bother me. I'm older than him, I'll admit that. 7 years older than him. But he's a little rougher than I am. Yeah.
Any other advice for your kids and your grandkids? How about how to live a long life?
Go to church. These kids today, they go to college, and some college does something to them. I noticed when my grandchildren went to college, they stopped going to church. I don't know if other kids influence them or what it is. But when he came back home, Bobby seen that they went to church, and they did. Yeah, they went back to church. I think going to church is good for you. You can meditate. Think of no bad things in. It's all good things. Yeah.
And why do you think you lived to be 90?
Because I went to church. I told you, I made St. Anthony Novena as long as I can remember. I go every Tuesday, even when I was married, even though everyone stayed home with the kids and watched them. She was a good Catholic. She was better than me. I had bad ideas. But I didn't step out of line. I didn't. The whole 64 years I was married, I stayed in line. That's not saying I won't step out now, even if I'm 90. Do you know the 23rd song? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. When I was in grade school, when a teacher started, they used to read a verse out of the Bible, and that's the best one I liked it all the way through. Yeah. Watch what I say; it'll come up on that.
Well, you know, I can cut things out. If you say something bad, I can cut it
You
out.
cut it out. glad to hear it. I'm glad I didn't tell you no joke.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
This is Evelyn's mother and dad with Davy. There's my mother and dad. My mother was short. My sister Lillian, my grandfather, my mother and dad, and my grandmother. This is David, I think, when he was small. Here I am, yeah. I'm laying down on a mat. We were at a picnic here. I was holding Tommy and David. This is my mother and dad's 50th. This is when we lived in the back. David, Tommy, and Bobby. Evelyn had the three of them. Here's Bobby, and this is Barbara when she was getting the bath. From left to right, this is Evelyn's twin brother, Eddie. This is her brother, Reach. He's older than Eddie. This is her older sister, Peggy. And he was a twin, Marty. He's an older brother. And this is her older sister, Anna Marie. This is Evelyn's dad, Ben. This is Evelyn's younger brother, Donnie. Her mother, Marie. And this is Evelyn. They're my three sisters. Lillian, Dolly, and Leona.